U.S. embassies reopening. What cases are they really working on? And the NVC, the National Visa Center, how to beat them at their own game. In this video, I'll talk about the latest in immigration, and I will give you a tip on asylum, how to avoid your asylum case being referred to the immigration court. Bijungwanda here, immigration lawyer in the DC metropolitan area. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're not new, welcome back and thank you for subscribing. Please don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you enjoy those type of content, please go ahead and comment below, share, like, and happy Easter, okay? Let's get right into it. U.S. embassies reopening. Okay, actually, they're just resuming services, but what cases are they really working on? Let's start with, they're talking about post-by-post basis, okay? Post that process immigrant visa application, they are prioritizing immediate relative family members of U.S. citizens, including inter-country adoptions, fiancé of U.S. citizens, and certain special immigrant visa applications. And then the posts that are processing non-immigrant visa application will continue to prioritize travelers with urgent travel needs, foreign diplomats, and certain mission-critical categories of travelers, such as those coming to assist with the U.S. response to the pandemic, okay? And followed by student, F1, M1, and certain J1, and temporary employment visas. Basically, they're really going with priorities, okay? They are going with priorities. I'm going to leave the link below because they really have categorized what are they really prioritizing first, okay? So in conclusion, if you fall in this category, you can actually request a visa interview, okay? Just go ahead and request and see how it's going to go for you. But you can also request an emergency visa interview if there is a health crisis involved, health emergency only. And by that, they mean, let's say you are an immediate relative. So basically, the petitioner is here and you are an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, and then you were waiting longer, and then the petitioner is sick and there is a serious health issue involved, then you can request a health emergency visa type of visa. So basically an emergency visa interview request, so they can interview you and then they can process your application. So health emergency only, okay? And let's talk about NVC, the National Visa Center, really. What is really going on with those people? Basically, what's happened is, you know, when you apply for a immigrant visa, so basically there is a petitioner here, they filed the form I-130, and for you to get a visa to get here. So once USCIS finished the application, they send it to the NVC, and then once your visa become current and pretty much your priority date is current, your visa becomes available. So, and then NVC will send it to consular processing for you to get your interview and then come to the US. Okay, that's how it works. But the thing is, with NVC, they have a lot of cases, and sometimes it takes forever. Some people have been suing them, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just know with lawsuits, it's a 50-50%. You can go in hoping for the best, but sometimes it just doesn't work. The less expensive way to go about it is to just file an expedited request and see how it's going to go. But let's see first if you're qualified for the expedited request. Okay, reason, really, they have a lot of reasons that you can file for an expedited request, but the primarily reason, if you have this reason, chances are you will get your file expedited. Okay, half of the petitioner, if the petitioner is sick, okay, you can file an expedited request. You can really request that your file be expedited so that they can send it to the consular processing, so that you can get interview, so that you can get here to care for the petitioner. But the health situation must be so serious medical condition. Okay, not just somebody's sick regularly, like you can get a flu, you can get this type of sickness, or it has to be really serious, and then the doctor has to really give you a report testifying that this sickness is so serious to the point where somebody has to really be here to care for this person. Okay, and then if the person is having a psychological evaluation on trauma, the beneficiary has experience in their home country, such as sexual abuse. Let's say you are the beneficiary, you are overseas, and then you have been experiencing some mental trauma because of some type of thing that were going on, especially sexual abuse. Then you can file as an expedited request as well. Financial hardship, if it's causing financial hardship for the petitioner here, or you, the beneficiary abroad, somebody can file for expedited request. A child aging out, the child turning 21, that could be another reason to file for an expedited request. But remember, with the child aging out, there's some type of Child Protection Act. You might be protected by that. If you are protected under the Child Protected Child, then they're not really going to expedite that request. Okay. If the delay is caused by the NVC, they make a mistake and it's causing a delay, you can file for an expedited request as well. The beneficiary needing to care for the petitioner due to a medical condition, we talked about it. Health is really the major thing here, okay? Even with with U.S. Embassy reopening or resuming services, routine services, health is the major thing. If you have a health emergency, okay, a serious health condition from both sides, either the petitioner or the beneficiary, you can request, if you are waiting at the consular processing, you can request an emergency visa interview, or if you're on this side of the game, you can request that the file be expedited so that NVC will send your request to the consular processing for interviewing. Okay, and then there's pregnancy of the beneficiary nearing term. Somebody has to give birth, it's coming to the end, so they have to give birth, so they can file for expedited request so that the beneficiary can get here prior to the baby being delivered. Okay, and any other hardship factors that could help your case. We do make a strong argument for expedited requests. We charge fees, nature of the business, but you have to really have strong basis to start with. And remember, it's also a discretionary measure. They go with first come, first serve, and then they look at all the criteria, and then they decide. And even when they decide, there's a waiting period of between 2 to 4 weeks for you to be called at the consular processing for the interview. So the process is still going to take time at some point, okay? But it's something to try if you have those reasons that I just listed. You can do it on your own. You can request us. Phone number is 202-751-2180, okay? And email address is on display. So you can do that and see if it's going to lead you to something first before you go with the lawsuit. Because remember, the lawsuit requires a lot of money and it's time consuming as well. And it's 50-50. There's no guarantee. But this one, you can make your request on your own and you can get it too. So if you have those valid reasons. So everything is 50-50, but try first with the cheaper way. If it doesn't work, then you can file a lawsuit as well. But just remember that everything is 50-50. You're just trying to see if something can be done instead of just sitting there and waiting, okay? Especially if you have those valid reasons to file for an expedited request. So, and sometime with expedited request as well, you can file it if there's a humanitarian crisis. Let's say you're waiting for your visa to get here, and it's taking way too long, and let's say a civil war has just broke in that part of the country where you live, so the petitioner here can file an expedited request too based on humanitarian crisis, humanitarian reasons, okay? So now let's talk about asylum. This is the last topic, asylum being referred to the immigration court. How did you get there? And what can you do if you haven't gotten there yet to avoid that? Because the moment you get referred to the immigration court, it changes the game. It changes the dynamic. It changes the potential outcome of the case. It changes everything. So you have to avoid it at any cost if you can. Because once they refer your case to an immigration, for you to appear before an immigration judge, clearly you're already in removal proceedings, so you can be removed anytime now. So it's not something to really want, okay? Let's see how you can avoid it. You can avoid it if you have a straightforward story. Remember, asylum is based on fear of persecution. Well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, or being part of a specific social group. But the thing is, the story that you're telling has to be backed up with evidence. You have to be evidence. You have to have evidence, and you have to be able to collaborate those evidence so that when you tell your story in front of the immigration officer, it's straightforward. And if they ask you a question, you can provide solid answers. Sometimes people get referred to the immigration judge because there is a lot of inconsistencies in the story. They're telling the story, and the evidence that they have is telling something else. And if they ask them a question in regard to the story that they're telling, they're providing a different type of evidence. Nothing's matching up. That's where the immigration officer is like, okay, this person's clearly lying. Let me send them to the immigration court, because that's when the judge can decide, okay? So, and then another reason you get, some people get referred to the immigration court is because of they have irrelevant documentations. Remember, when you tell your story, you have to have evidence to back up the story. The evidence has to be in direct, so basically in direct connection, relation with the story, not something else, really. It's not going to work. So let's say, for example, you're talking about you being persecuted based on a political affiliation to a political party, right? And then you are showing documentation of a different political party. It's not going to work. You have to show specific documentation for the political party that you were persecuted. Really, it has to be in direct correlation, okay? And then another reason is facts do not add up. If your facts don't add up, the story doesn't make sense, and the immigration officer gets frustrated. That's when they just don't want to deal with it, really, clearly, and then they send it to the immigration court, and you have to appear now in front of an immigration judge, and that changes the dynamic of your case, and everything. It's fair play, you know, and you really don't want that. Get your story straight, get relevant facts, get relevant documentation, and be able to tell your story straightforward. Okay, if somebody's asking for a question, then they can just see that you are really telling the truth and you really know the things that you're talking about, and you can back it up. That's really what it is at the immigration interview. Okay, so at the asylum interview, and if you need help with your asylum interview, so basically you got called for the asylum interview and you need help to prepare for the interview, my friend, you do not need to hesitate. Please call my office or email me. Phone number on display, email address on display, so we can prepare. But remember, you have to provide me with the documentation that you first submitted. And at any time prior to the interview, just know that you can amend your case. If you have additional documentation that can back up your story, you can always amend your case prior to the interview or on the dates of the interview, so that your story and the documentation lined up, okay? So that you can get your interview at first, you can get your asylum case approved at first interview, okay? So that's it for today. Okay, it's a Sunday and it's Eastern. So happy Easter, people. And I hope I'll see you on my next video. And that was US immigration. Until next time, bye-bye.